I'm audible. Yeah.
Thanks. So yes, I heartily welcome you for the training of a business analyst. Okay. So
Thank you.
before I start the training, I want to set some benchmarks. Okay. So I request you to be, daily the session would be at least for 1.5 hours. Okay. It would last for 2 weeks. Okay. So daily I would be recording the sessions, and you can view. I'll be giving you the link. You can view after your class, but I request you people at least to be attentive whenever the class is going on. Okay. And moreover, it has to be interactive session. It has to be a interactive session. See, only I myself talking, it's a monologue. That doesn't matter. End of the day, you want to be if you want to become a business analyst, you need to question a lot. And the other thing, and the last thing is that make sure to give at least 1 hour each day apart from our training class. From that, you can view the recordings again and again, at least daily and hour preparation would land you up very soon as a business analyst for you people. Okay. So any doubts so far? So I'll share my screen. So is my screen visible, team?
Yes, it is visible.
Right. So so what do you mean by a business analyst? So what do you mean by a business analyst? I'll tell you. Business analyst is a person who act as a mediator between. Business analyst is a person who act as a mediator between stakeholder and his company. Business analyst is a person who act as a mediator between stakeholder and his company. So what do you mean by stakeholder? What do you mean by his company? So there are these two entities we are using, stakeholder and his company. So what do you mean by his company? His company is nothing but, the organization which he's gonna work. His company is nothing but the organization which he gonna work. So organization comprise of, generally there might be account department, there might be project management team, there might be a development team, there might be a testing team, and so on. And many department comprise of a company. So he's nothing but he's representing among them. Okay. And coming to the point, and I also told that the stakeholder. So stakeholder, it varies, the terminology varies from company to company. So some companies would say stakeholder, some company would say client, some company would be saying the customers. So no matter whatever the terminology they've been using, they are going to say. Fine. So what do you mean by stakeholder? Stakeholder is a person. Stakeholder is a person who gets impacted. Stakeholder is a person who gets impacted by the outcome of the project. Stakeholder is the person who gets impacted by the outcome of the project. So just as a definition, now we could able to know it. Fine. What do you mean by business analyst? Business analyst is a person who act as a mediator, or who act as a intermediary, or who act as a license between the stakeholder and the company. Fine. So just now we got into the definition of it. Now let's get into the live mode. In order to make you understand more clearly. I told you stakeholder and the company. So let's assume for the time being, I play a role of a stakeholder. Okay. So Ravi act as a business analyst. So Somit would be acting as a company. So what I say, so I am the stakeholder, right? So I am the stakeholder. So in my perspective as a stakeholder, let's assume I'm running a restaurant. So it is nothing but daily I'm selling the breakfast. In other words, daily I'm selling the breakfast. So there are n number of customers for me. Daily who would coming into my restaurant and they would be ordering the breakfast. As per their need, they would be ordering the breakfast. So all these days, what I have done, I used to write manually their order. For example, one customer has come to me and he has ordered one idli, and the other customer has come to me, has ordered one more idli. So what I used to do daily, I used to give him in a piece of paper his order. So if there are one or two customers, I can write him in a piece of paper. So what in case there are hundreds of customers walking to my restaurant? What in case if there are 100 customers walking into my restaurant and they just keep on ordering? I cannot write. I just can't sit and cannot write. Right? Do you agree? Is it fine? Is it possible to write for thousands of customers? Ravi? Ravi?
Sorry, I was in mute.
Yeah. Have you understood my question?
Yeah, you were asking that is it possible to write the requirement of 1,000 of the customers?
Yeah.
You're a restaurant owner.
Yeah.
So actually, it's not possible to take
Yeah.
requirement of each and every customer. So there should be a menu based on which customer will choose like what they want generally.
And apart from that, they can order it. That's it. Nothing but whatever the customer want. For example, Ravi want to have one plate of coffee. Let's say one cup of coffee. In other words, okay. So I cannot write in piece of paper that one cup coffee, right? So if I were to use the software at one click, what I can use, I can generate the order, right? So you can directly get into the counter where the coffee is served. You can give that bill to in the counter and he can avail what he wants, right? So citing to my own example, like all these days I've been suffering a lot, right? I've been writing manually, fine. So I'm really vexed up. In other words, I told you, my role is stakeholder. I'm really vexed up. So I want to have a software. I want to have a software built for it. At one click, I can have the order. I can have the orders of the customers, of my customer's choice. Fine. So what would I do? I'll approach the company. I'll approach any of the software companies. I might approach Accenture, Wipro, whatever. Fine, globally. So I'll approach any of the companies, okay, and tell them what exactly my requirement is. So for this, Ravi would be acting as a business analyst. So I would be telling to Ravi. Is that this is what I'm looking out for. Being a stakeholder, being a stakeholder, me, Ravi being a business analyst, I'll be telling to Ravi about all my problems. Okay. So Ravi would be listening to me. Being a business analyst, he would listen to all my problems, all my requirements. So he would be communicating to Somit. Somit is nothing but the company, right? So Ravi, now Ravi's business is to get the things done. Now Ravi business, being a business analyst, his work is to get the things done. Fine. So he got the thing done. So in this way, to be in an example diagram, in a view, we can say that a business analyst acts as a mediator between the stakeholder and the company. Got my point? The definition? Ravi and Somit got the definition of a business analyst?
Yes, sir.
Sure. Fine. So let me be very clear, my dear friends. So this is the very first slide that if you are thorough with, if you could able to express this first slide, then you gotta pass the first test, first question. Generally, if you were to apply for the business analyst role, okay. So the very first question would be, tell me about yourself, right? So this is the first slide wherein you need to tell. This is the very first slide wherein you need to tell. If you are perfect with this first slide, then you can get into the second question. Okay, fine. So we have till now we discussed about the definition of a business analyst. Till now we have discussed about the definition of a business analyst. Now let's get into roles and responsibilities of a business analyst. Let's get into the role and responsibilities of a business analyst. So the very first role is business analysts need to gather the requirement. Business analysts he would be gathering the requirements. So citing to my own example, I told you, I being a stakeholder, okay. So I am the person I have some problem, okay. So until unless I express, I being a stakeholder, until unless I express about my problems, business analysts cannot give the solution, right? Agree? Business analyst cannot give the solution. So being a business analyst, you gather the requirements with the stakeholder. You gather the requirements with the stakeholder. For example, I'll tell you. So what are you looking at? Sir, what are you looking at? What exactly you require? So, okay. So all these questions. So nothing but, what are the requirement is nothing but the need of a client. Requirement is nothing but the need of a client, right? So what exactly you require? So all these things, business analyst would be jotting out. Okay. So during the gathering the requirements, during the taking of the requirements, okay, he'll be using a technique called as the elicitation technique. He would be using a technique called as elicitation technique. So what do you mean by elicitation technique? As we progress further, we are going to learn. Don't worry about that. So nothing but, elicitation technique is nothing but a protocol. Elicitation technique is nothing but the protocol. Okay. So that means, whenever, let's assume you've been deployed as a business analyst and you've been asked to visit the client place in order to gather the requirements. Okay. Directly you can't say to the customer that, hey, what is your requirement? Tell me. No, you cannot say to him like that, right? So there is one protocol or the procedure called as the elicitation technique. Fine. So he has gathered the requirements. The very first step is business analyst gather the requirements. Then he gonna document it. So why we need to document? Because client is looking out for a software to be built. Client is looking out for a software to be built. What in case if one requirement is missed from your end or from his end? Let's assume at least one requirement is missed from business analyst and he might have missed to take that requirement, or the client might have missed to give that requirement. Okay. So even though one requirement is missed also, we cannot give the 100% product, 100% software, right? So that's the reason, you have to document the requirements. What are the requirements taken by the business analyst from the stakeholder? Business analyst should document those requirements. Those documenting of those requirements are of two types. First one is BRD, known as the business requirements document. BRD known as the business requirements document. Second one is FRD, known as the functional requirement document. Second one known as the functional requirement documents. So team, BRD and FRD is considered as the Bible for each and every business analyst. BRD is considered as the Bible for each and every business analyst. Yes, Ravi.
Sir, you mentioned about elicitation technique. So can you tell me how we can perform the elicitation technique, or what are some examples? Yeah, Ajay, 1 second. What are some example of elicitation techniques?
Yeah, we have a separate session for that, Ravi.
Okay,
For
okay.
elicitation techniques and modeling the requirements. So at that point of time, definitely we're going to discuss. I'm going step by step, Ravi.
Okay, okay.
I can show you that just for a minute. So requirements elicitation. So we have a separate session for this.
Okay, okay, got this. Please go ahead.
Thanks. So Amit, are you on? Could you able to understand? So, so as soon as the business analyst gathers the requirements, he'll be using some protocols known as the elicitation techniques. Then afterwards, he would be documenting it. Business analyst would be documenting the requirement. So in two manners, business analyst need to prepare two documents for one project. Two documents for one project. Okay, those documents are called business requirement document and functional requirement documents. Fine. So he has documented it. So he has taken the requirements and he has documented the requirements. Okay. Then what is going to happen? Then he would model the requirements. Modeling the requirements is nothing but he would be whatever the requirements he has taken, whatever the requirements he got freeze. In other words, the requirements which are freeze. Okay, now the business analyst would showcase them in a diagrammatic way. That is called as the unified modeling language. So nothing but he would be showcasing it to the client. So let's assume client has come up for the login screen. Okay. So what constitutes of the login screen? Generally, the username and the password. So business analyst would draw using the tool called as the MS Visio. Business analyst would use the tool called as the MS Visio. He would be drawing that how his application is going to look like. Just to have a fair idea. Why? Because till now we've been visualizing about that. Okay. So my visualization as a business analyst might be different. So the visualization as in perspective of the stakeholder might be different. So in order to eradicate that, that's the reason we would be using, the business analyst would be using he need to model the requirement. Model the requirement is nothing but diagrammatic, representing the diagrammatic manner. Okay, that is called as the unified modeling language. Yes, go on.
Yeah, you said one thing, sir, that once BA will freeze the requirement, once the requirement are freeze. So can BA freeze the requirement without discussing?
I'm telling you, BA cannot be freeze after freezing the requirements.
Okay.
Generally, the requirements are freezed by the stakeholder, because he would be giving you the sign off.
Okay, so requirement are freezed by the stakeholders. So the main very important stakeholder here is the development team, right?
Yes.
To finalize, because until BA cannot give a confirmation until it is feasible to implement that in a solution. For example, like they want a login screen with a single sign-on feature, but currently the product does not have the single sign-on feature currently.
Exactly.
So can BA give the final confirmation? No, right? It will go.
No, he cannot give. That's what, again, it's internal thing, right? So
yeah.
Yes, go on.
So I have one question. So in such type of requirement, which is not possible at the moment, will it go in the current scenario? Like, will it go into a product backlog feature, like where it will be a park for the future sprints? I mean, I'm just asking in advance about, like, because this is how, like, I want to understand. For example, there is a new feature, or there is some feature which is not possible at this moment, but maybe the company can come up with some R&D solution or something like that, which they will plan it for future. So in such case, if I'm a BA, will I take that requirement and move that into a backlog and park it for future events, or like how it is?
No. Ideally, because only the freeze requirements itself we are going to put in the backlog, right?
Okay.
Fine.
Yes.
So because as you yourself told that it is in R&D, research and development. So how can you consider it as a requirement?
But here again, the one question comes up that product backlog is an ever-growing list, which never stops. It represents the vision of a company or a service provider. So in that case, it can still be a part of like how can I freeze a requirement being a BA? Like I need to set up a meeting with the dev team with all list of items.
Absolutely.
priority list of item.
Mhm.
Just let us know whether it is possible or not. In 10 list of item, they can say that okay, 5 are possible, 2 are something which we need to work on, and 3 need some more clarifications, right?
Okay. Yes, absolutely. Agree.
This type of things they can come up, and based on that, I'll first freeze the 5 items. I'll set up another meeting to discuss the 2 items together, more requirement which is proposed by the BA team. 2, I can say that this is currently not if new functionality, but if we come up in future, we can let you know, like as soon as we have this functionality
Yes.
available.
Yes.
If it is a go or no go must have functionality, then I have to escalate it to the higher management, right?
Yes. Absolutely, man.
Okay. So that's what my understanding was, but you have
That's
said
what.
that
So
it's
that the crux of the story you need to understand is nothing but only the if the only the if the requirements are freezed itself of post getting the sign off from the client or the customer or the stakeholder whatever, then only we are putting it under backlog. I totally agree that requirements are never ever stoppable, because we the change request, whatever the requirements are coming in the middle of the project, okay, that we consider it as the change request itself, right?
correct.
Fine.
And we add it into new version or new hot fix of the product.
Absolutely, yes.
If it
So
is a minor change, then it will be a new hot fix, like how this mobile application also upgrades every time.
yep. So we are going to be the third. First thing is that we are going to gather the requirements. Second one, we're gonna document it. Third one, based upon the requirements, which we got, okay, we are going to showcase in the form of the diagrammatic manner, okay, to the stakeholder. Fine. After that, till now, we spoke with the client. We spoke with the client itself. We spoke with the client. Now you should act between. Now you should also communicate to your company. I told you, right? You are acting as a mediator between the stakeholder and the company. Now the role of a company comes. So you being the business analyst, now you should set up a meeting with your company people. Company is nothing but the project team. So what is project team? In next slide we are going to discuss. So with your project team, you're going to discuss with your project team. So you would, being a business analyst, you would be explaining. Being a business analyst, you would be explaining to your team that what exactly the requirement, what exactly the need of a client, what the requirements are, what is the application, okay, what is the software the client is looking out for, okay. You have to explain to your company or to your project team. So here is also one of the interview question is that what are the challenges you faced what are the challenges you face when you communicate to your project team? Obviously, there are challenges. For example, let's assume Ravi is a business analyst and Somit is a developer. Ravi is carrying 2 years as a business analyst. Somit is having 10 years as a developer. So obviously, in general, let's consider that Somit might not agree that you are Somit might say, hey, you are kid in front of me. You are having only 2 years of experience. I'm having 10 years development experience. I know how to run a project. Who are you to say? These are common attitude issues, right, in a company. So being a business analyst, the main skill you have to know is nothing but, you need to maintain a cordial relationship with each and everyone. You need to maintain a cordial relationship with each and everyone. Until unless Ravi maintains a cordial relationship with Somit, he cannot get the job done. Ravi cannot get the job done. Why? Because why Ravi has to get the job done? Because stakeholder would ask only to Ravi. Stakeholder would never ever come to Somit. Stakeholder would never ever come to development team. Stakeholder would only come to business analyst itself. So business analyst business analyst is the only authorized, authenticated person to talk to a stakeholder. Fine. So he has communicated. So he has communicated to his team, project team. Okay, so project team might come up with n number of questions. If business analyst is perfect enough about that requirements, okay, about that business process, then business analyst would answer those questions, or else he would be writing down, or else he would be listing down all the requirement, all the doubts, And again, he would go to a stakeholder and would ask them. Eventually, it is nothing but, the main purpose of having a healthy chat with your team is nothing but, the more business analyst tells about the requirement in detail, the first of all, the business analyst should have a clarity. First of all, business analyst should have a clarity exactly what the requirements are, what exactly the need of the client. Then he can express himself to this project team. Then ultimately, if the project team is very well understood, then I don't think so that would be nightmare. The product, obviously the application would be built as per the requirement itself. Fine. So he has communicated to the technical team. So the work has started. So the development has started. So eventually the stakeholder, because stakeholder is pumping humongous amount of money, right? Billions of millions of dollars he has put in that project. Fine. So it is obvious that stakeholder would be eager. Stakeholder would be eager to know where exactly his project the development is. So obviously he would be asking the business analyst, what is the status? What is the status? So business analyst is a person he should track. He should track during the development stages that where exactly it is there. For example, you are building a login page. So which comprises of the username and password. So in that, till what entity you have finished? You have finished the username, whether the username is working, okay, and the password, by giving the username and password, you could able to log in. So this is of one stage, right? So generally business analyst would track down where exactly the project is in order to answer to the stakeholder. So sometimes I told you, it is quite common that before we start, for example, if we start from traveling from one place to another, we might have taken one route. So in middle of in the interim of our journey, we might have used the Google Maps, and we would have taken the route which is very very near. Okay, so it is nothing but the change itself, right? So in the similar way, so stakeholder might during the very first session, like at the gathering of requirements, he was telling as per his needs. So in the middle of the project, whenever the project is is forming in the shape, now he could be able to realize that no, I want to build some features, I want to add some more, things. Okay, so this is nothing but considered as the change request. So obviously BA should handle those change requests. Okay, so the next role and responsibility is he need to facilitate UAT. UAT is nothing but user acceptance testing. UAT is nothing but user acceptance testing. So what do you mean by user acceptance testing? UATs would be done at the higher end, whether that functionality or that feature or that product is running or not. Business analyst would be checking at the higher end whether that product is running or not. He would be testing it. That's it. So these are the 7 roles and responsibilities of a business analyst. Yes, Ravi, go on.
Yeah, I have one question. You mentioned
Please.
handle change request. So what I have seen in real time scenario
Ravi,
is,
could you please be more louder, please?
yeah, it's regarding handling change request.
Okay.
So what I have seen in real life scenario, that development team, they hate change request, because I have also worked in a development team. I'm like, I have faced this issue in past. So when we plan a change request, we plan, outside the scope of current release cycle or a sprint, or how we accommodate the change request generally as a BA, and how we negotiate the change request with client and with development team.
Yes. So change request generally, if for example, if you were to accommodate in the same sprint, okay, sprint is nothing but the time box of event.
Yeah. Time boxing event.
Time box. If it Somit, if it is jumbling you, please take care. Okay, give me 2 minutes. Fine. If, for example, you are talking about the change request. So if you were to accommodate in the same sprint, we can, or else based on, we can take this change request as a priority. We can accommodate same in the very next sprint itself.
Okay, we'll recommend it in next sprint. But the thing is that by when, is there any cutoff date by when I have to, who will inform me that there is a change request? Will business inform me that there should be a change request, or I
No,
need to go and ask business?
yes. Generally, the stakeholder would be asking for the changes. I need to have some changes in my project, or I need to
Okay.
have some change in the login screen. Okay. So, being a business analyst, you would be doing a feasibility study. Because, for example, I'll tell you, if the stakeholder daily 100 times he just comes with the changes, for daily 100 times he comes with the changes. Okay. So you cannot welcome each and every change, right? Because obviously it would hamper your time and your project. So first
Correct.
of all, being a business analyst, you should do a feasibility study. You should do a feasibility study. What do you mean by feasibility study? It is nothing but, if we were to incorporate this change, does this really matter? Okay, will this be really fruitful to the project? You need to understand as a business analyst. Then you got a feasibility study. Fine, you communicate the same to your stakeholder that we can accept it. There are sometimes wherein it doesn't make any sense. There are sometimes it doesn't make any sense. So it all depends upon the way how you communicate with the stakeholder. Directly, bluntly, you cannot say, I cannot. But it all depends upon the way how you present yourself with this stakeholder. You can say that, yeah, I do agree, this is the change request, but what the work is going on, we can push it off. Then, we can consider during the last. You can say this also, whether you find, if you are to find this unfeasible. If it is feasible, you can incorporate in the based upon the prioritization itself. If the customer is saying priority, if you are to believe it is feasible, if you are to incorporate this change request, then immediately in the next sprint you can accommodate it. Got my point, Ravi?
Yeah, thank you. Please continue.
Sure. Sure. Are you 100% sure? Answered your question?
Yeah.
Fine. So this is the very first slide that definition of a business analyst and roles and responsibilities of a business analyst. Somit, sorry, Somit. Fine. So Ravi, are you thorough with this first slide? At least have you had an idea about this first slide? So guys, can I move on? Guys, can I move on? Team, are you on? Able to hear me? This is about the definition of a business analyst and the roles and responsibilities of a business analyst. Fine. So I told you, if you were to see here, SDLC life cycle. This is nothing but the software development life cycle. SDLC life cycle is nothing but software development life cycle. So what do you mean by? Software development life cycle? Okay. So what do you mean by software development life cycle? It is nothing but the transition from an idea into a product. The transition from an idea into a product or a software or an application, that is called as the software development life cycle. The transition from an idea into a product. It is called as the software development life cycle. Okay, so citing to my own example, which we have discussed a couple of minutes back. So I am the stakeholder. I am the stakeholder. So what was my idea that there are n number of customers, people walking into my restaurant. Okay, I cannot give them the manual billing. Okay, so what I thought, I need to have a software for this. Okay, I need to have a software for this. So this is nothing but an idea, right? This is nothing but an idea. So having a software, it is better for me. So what would I would do? I would approach one company in order to build that. So I will be getting that software. I would be getting that software. Okay. So having from like nothing but transition of from an idea to get that product is called as the software development life cycle. So here we have 8 stages. In software development life cycle, we have 8 stages, right? Starting from the initiation. Okay, then planning, then requirement gathering, then development, then testing, user acceptance testing, live production, maintenance and support. So these are the 8 stages which we gonna which are involved in the software development life cycle. Got my point? So what do you mean by initiation? What do you mean by initiation? So so here, so in perspective of, generally, I told you, you are working in a big companies, you both are working in a big companies generally. Or else, you might have heard from your relatives, or you might have heard from your relatives or from your close friends that, my project, I got one project, I am on bench, I got one project. These are the common terminology used by each and every person who is working with an MNC, right? So what is that? What is that exactly? We're gonna know it. So in a software company, okay, what is the gender we have apart from the, many people don't know that each and every software company also has the sales team. Each and every software company also has the sales team. But we only know that, only the insurance companies would be having the sales team, right? It is not. Even the software companies would also be having the sales team. Even the software companies also would be having the sales team. Okay. So in this initiation stage, the sales team would be involved. So citing to my own example, likewise, I'm thinking to have a software. For my restaurant. Okay. So what I would be seeing, there are n number of companies. There are n number of software companies like Accenture, Infosys, Wipro, TCS, like this n number of companies are there. Fine. So what this company sales team would be doing, it's nothing but, they are going to bid. So I'll be telling that this is my requirement. I need to have a billing software. Okay, or anything else, billing software. I need to have a billing software. I told them, so the companies would be quoting, for example, Accenture would be quoting $5 billion. Wipro would be quoting $4 billion in order to build that software. Let's assume. So finally, some other company, Tech Mahindra would be quoting $1 billion. So it is obvious that I, being a stakeholder, it is obvious that whichever company is bidding very low, I would go to that company itself, right? Why? Because one company is going to do that work. The name and fame is the same. In India, they are the top software companies. So I would be going for the company which is quoting less. So I have agreed. I, being a stakeholder, I have agreed to come up with the Accenture. Let's assume Accenture. Okay. So here, because the pre-sales team they would be presenting it. What are the projects they handled? What is the software they have handled? How many resources are there? What is the net worth of their company? It is obvious that whenever you want to sell your product, it is obvious that you will be saying about your company, right? You'd be saying about all the prospects of your company. So I got impressed. Let's assume I got impressed with the Accenture company. So I would be going with the Accenture company. So I want to go with the Accenture company. So after I get that, after I decided, I being a stakeholder, I decided to go on with the Accenture. Okay, then at that point of time, SOW, known as the statement of work, is generated. Then at that point of time, SOW, known as the statement of work, is generated. Okay, what do you mean by state of work? Statement of work, SOW. It is nothing but, what are the features the client is looking out for, number of resources to be allocated in order to complete this project. Okay, these are generally would be there in a statement of work. These are the things would generally would be there in the statement of work. So whenever two parties have agreed with mutual consent, okay, so that is by default, that is called as the contract, right? Whenever two different parties have agreed mutually in order to do the business, so this is called as the contract. So here in software language, we call it as the service level agreement. In software language, we call it as the service level agreement. Okay, so in this service level agreement, all the terms, the terms would be there, like, what is the payment mode. Okay, payment terms, nothing but I told you $1 billion this Accenture has quoted. Okay, so $1 billion, what is the project duration? What is the project duration? Let's assume project is of 6 months or it's 1 year. So I gonna give you $1 billion after the project finish, or every weekly, or every day, or every monthly, or whatever. It depends upon the discussion between the stakeholder and the company. Okay, so in this way, service level agreement would be done. So you might have asked, what is our role? What is our role, sir, being a business analyst? My dear friend, your role is nothing. Your role is nothing during this stage, during this initiation stage. But you have to know that, how the project is going to start. You have to know that how the project is going to start, because it is in interview mode. Generally interviewers would be asking, tell me about life cycle of a project, or tell me about SDLC. Then you have to say that, in initiation phase, these are the things that gonna happen. Fine, got my point? Got clarity about initiation? Ravi, Somit?
No, sir, can you repeat it exactly? Like, for example, if I'm talking to first time, what should I tell to them for elicitation techniques?
No, it is not the elicitation technique, right? It is the initiation phase.
Sorry,
Yeah,
for the
SDLC.
initiation, yeah. So how to do the kickoff or ice breaking with them?
Fine. Let's assume your interviewer asks, do you know about the SDLC or software development lifecycle? So you have to say that, it is, we have SDLC comprised of the 8 stages. Okay, right from initiating to the support or deployment. Okay, at initiating level, what exactly it consists of? In this stage, the pre-sale team involves. Okay, where all the service level agreements would be done. Okay, about that project, the payment terms, all the agreements would be done. Fine, it has come up to my notice. You have to say that it has come up to my notice that, what is this project all about, and the number of the resources been allocated. Okay, it has come to my notice. Only this itself you have to say, because business analyst is the person who doesn't know about what is the cost of the project. Only the project manager knows about the cost. You can say only in these 2 words itself, wherein, during this stage, my sales team would be involving. Okay, I could able to know about the number of resources being allocated and what exactly the project is all about. I could able to know it. That's it. Got my point?
Yes.
Sure. If you are thoroughly satisfied itself, we can get into it. To the next slide. I can tell you 1,000 times also. I don't mind.
No, please go ahead.
Sure.
Hmm.
Fine. So we have initiated. Initiated is nothing but at a company level itself. Unfortunately, BA doesn't have any role in this. Do you find any here role of a BA here? Have I used BA here in this of 6 lines? Because it is gone into the back end itself. Till now, BA haven't been allocated itself. BA haven't been allocated. So how does the BA knows? Fine. So next one is next stage is planning. Next stage is planning. So here in this stage, so we got in the first stage in initiation phase, we have got all the we have laid down, we got the project, we have laid down these terms and conditions. Okay, it is nothing but by mutual consent itself. In other words, we have come up with a contract. We have come up with a contract with the two persons have come up with the contract. The stakeholder and the company people have come up with the contract. Okay, now the company job is done. Now the company job is done. So what the company would be doing? So for each and every company, for each and every software company, they also would be having one team called as the PMO. They also would be having one team called as the PMO. What do you mean by PMO? PMO is nothing but project management office. PMO is nothing but project management office. Okay, so because they are going to maintain all the projects within that organization. They are going to maintain. PMO is the department that is gonna maintain all the projects. There might be thousands of lakhs of projects in general. Let's assume. Okay, there might be thousands of projects that would be handled by PMO, project management office. Okay, so project management office in this stage, in the planning stage, project management office, they would be allocating one project manager. They would be allocating one project manager. So who is considered as the project manager? Nothing but he is considered as the project. The project is his baby. Project manager's baby is that project. Okay, he is responsible to ensure the smooth flow of the project. In other words, okay. So PMO would be assigning one project manager. Now it's the duty of the project manager. Now it's the duty of the project manager to take his own team. Now it's the duty of the project manager to take his own team. So he would be taking the business analyst. So how many resources he need to allocate? He need to have. Fine. In order to come to this, in order to complete this project, the project manager would be thinking of the minimum six team members would be there. Okay. So one business analyst and 3 developers and 2 testers. Let's assume. Okay. So these are the team I require. So he would be taking the best of his team. So eventually that's purely project manager's wish. That's purely project manager's wish to whom he want to take as a business analyst or as a developers or as a testers. Fine. So after that he gonna take let's assume he has taken his team. Let's assume he has taken his team. Fine. After that, now the involvement of a BA would come. Now the involvement of a BA would come. In what way? So here at this stage, the BA would be given a product training. The business analyst would be given a product training. So why business analyst would be given a product training? Because he need to talk to a stakeholder, because the business analyst would need to talk to a stakeholder, right? So before talking to a stakeholder, business analyst need some refresher about that product. That is called as the gap document. So product training, business analyst would be getting the product training that is known as the gap document. So he would be given the document known as the gap document, wherein business analyst would be going through it. Known as the gap document. So in this stage itself, let's assume business analyst got some doubts. He need to get clarified, right? And that's what I say. Being a business analyst, you need to have 500% clarity on the project. Okay, on the product which you are going to build. In other words, Fine. Unless business analyst doesn't have clarity, he cannot communicate to his team, right? Agree. So in this way, he need to know at this stage itself, who is the person he should approach while taking the product training. If he has any doubts, he need to know that, who is the person to approach, best person to approach. If for that, in order to know that, we will be using a matrix called as the RACI matrix, RACI matrix, which R stands for responsible, A stands for accountable, C stands for consulted, I stands for informed. So RACI matrix, business analysts would be following the RACI matrix. So what do you mean by responsible? What do you mean by responsible? So it is the person who is to give the requirements. He is the person who gonna give you the requirement. For example, I told you, citing to my own example, I told you that I gonna give you requirements. So I will be considered, I am the stakeholder, I will be considered as the responsible person. So next one is accountable. So coming to the point, so I told you my own example that I run a restaurant. Let's assume it's a family restaurant. Okay, so apart from me, I have my wife and my mother also. Let's assume I have my wife and my mother also. Okay, so you, being a business analyst, you should have the clarity that whom do you approach, whom to approach. Okay, so if I am responsible to give you the requirements. Okay, during taking the requirements, you need to approach me. In order to take the requirements, you need to approach me. So after taking the requirements, after finishing the requirements, okay, then you should note that who is the person to give you the sign off, right? Freezing the requirement. We have freezed the requirement. Okay, who would be giving you the sign off? He is the accountable person. You should know about that. Next, the next one is consult. What do you mean by consult? It is nothing but, it is nothing but your internal team. Consultant team is nothing but your internal team, nothing but your project team, in other words. So because whatever the action is taken, obviously you would be consulting, because you are not a techno, because now you are not a technical guy, right? Let's assume if you are not a technical guy. So it is obvious that you are going to a developer and would be asking him. So in other words, you can put the consulted as your project team or your internal team, in other words. So I is nothing but informed. So obviously, when you're talking to one stakeholder, his management also should know. His management should also know, right, what exactly it is going on. So you would be considering them as the informed. So being a business analyst, whenever you've been deployed in the project, first of all, get the product training, and you have to know, according to RACI matrix, who is responsible for what. This is your job in this stage. Any doubts? Ravi?
Yeah, so when you say this RACI metrics, so responsible to give requirements, so will it be given by product owner?
Yeah, sometimes, yes. There are some instances wherein, your client may be a product owner.
Okay, so in that case, client will be treated as a product owner.
Yeah.
So I need to ask this explicitly, or will it be provided to me that you need to, as a BA, this will be a customer, and this will be your dev team, or like how it happens?
You would be given the RACI matrix itself during during the initiation phase itself. Okay, during this last phase, initiation phase itself. Okay, so all these are freeze, right? Who is the person to approach? All these agreements would be agreements would be there. So obviously that you will be knowing who is the person to approach.
Okay.
Yes, because you are very new. How would you know whether you have to contact me or my neighbor? You don't know that, right? So you'll be told that Mr. John F. Kennedy is the person you have to approach for everything. So obviously from right now, you will be shooting a mail to John F. Kennedy itself. Got my
So I
point?
want to ask one question.
Please.
How can I bring innovation in this type of role? Because we always need to be stereotyping ourselves by sending just email like how it is going to done previously, or we need to be fast track in terms of latest means of communications in utilizing the teams and any other medium through which we can capture the requirement, and it is more visible to entire team, the entire sprint team,
Okay.
the scrum team, I say. So how can be I more visible in terms of showing that I have taken the requirement and all parties have agreed to it. Otherwise, there is some sense of doubt that whether
Okay.
it is done or not,
Hmm.
or who gave the requirement. Customer also sometimes say that no, this is not what I said.
Yeah. So your answer would come in this slide. Just
Okay,
park your question for 2 minutes. I'll answer you.
okay.
Fine. Somit, are you on? Somit,
I'm on.
what you understood till what you have understood till now?
Basically, actually, I'm just understanding this entire session that
I
business,
understand it is very new to you, but what about?
thoda but just like a business analyst, not a normal position. This is completely unstable for a complete corporate buyer.
Okay.
Like a lightning, like
Okay.
between two parties.
Okay.
Okay. So there is a lots of thing in this course. We need to understand. We need to spend more time with this.
Mhm. At least I mean, I do understand this is very, very, you are from a different stream. I do
Yeah.
agree. This is like, I really agree that, that's bombarding, right? That's between your head. I really understand, but don't worry. It would take some time. But,
Okay.
at least listen to it, at least get a fair idea.
Okay.
You can connect to me after the class itself, I don't mind.
Okay. Sure. Okay.
Fine, but make sure that, you need to give 100% during the training.
Okay. Sure.
So coming to the third stage, this third stage is requirements gathering. So we have initiated a project. In initiation stage, we have initiated a project, and then we have planned how to. We got the business. In other words, afterwards, how to do the business, how to do this business. We have done it in this planning stage. Now BA been allocated in this planning stage. Sorry, he got the product training. 1 minute, guys. Sorry. So BA been allocated. Okay, now he got the product training. Now it is the stage wherein he need to take down the requirements. Now it is the stage wherein business analyst should take down the requirements. Okay, so what do you mean by requirement? What do you mean by a requirement? Requirement is nothing but the need of a client is called as the requirement. The need of a client is called as the requirement. Because citing to again my own example, I know what my requirement is, because I cannot no more write manually the food orders. I cannot take the food orders manually. So what is my requirement? The requirement is, what is my need or requirement? My need is nothing but I need to build a software. At one click, I can generate the food order. To my restaurant customers. So this is my requirement. So I being the stakeholder or a client or customer, whatever, I only know what exactly I want. I only should know what exactly I want. There are some instances also wherein I being the client, I don't know. I don't have any clarity. So it doesn't make any sense. If I were to approach business analyst also, because whatever is in your mind, if you were to express in layman language also, whatever in a stakeholder perspective I'm talking about, whatever it is in my mind as a stakeholder, okay, if until I wish to express what I want, business analyst can understand and get the job done. I only don't know. I being the customer client, I only don't know what exactly I require. then how would I communicate to the business analyst? Then in what way the business analyst would give me the solution, right? So the thing is that, clarity should be there. First of all, what exactly the need of the client, the client should know. Okay, so during this requirement gathering phase, during this requirement gathering stage, so first of all, business analyst would be asking about the as is process. You please pay more attention. Please pay more attention, please. Okay, business analyst would be asking as is process to the client. As is nothing but, is nothing but, the current process, the current procedure, the current operations which the client is following, the current method which the client is following, that is called as the as is process. Current, as is nothing but, is nothing but the current process or the current procedure or the current work which is carried out by the stakeholder, that is called as the as is. So client would be, business analyst would be asking about the as is process. Nothing but, sir, what are you doing presently? Okay, so nothing but I'll be saying that, daily thousands of customers would be walking into my restaurant. Okay, one person would be saying one item, the other person would be saying 10 more items. For I need to write in a piece of paper for one person one item, and in piece of paper, let's assume his customer wants 10 items. So I will be writing for 10 items in that piece of paper and I would be giving it. Okay, this is nothing but the current process I'm following, right? Stakeholder perspective. This is nothing but as is. So the business analyst would be jotting down. Business analyst would be taking down all those. Fine. So what exactly it is running on? Okay. So both client and the business analyst would discuss. Okay, would take down. Okay, this is called, in other words, this is also called as the happy flow. This is also called as the, as this process is called as the happy flow, in other words. Okay, so coming to Ravi question, your question was, what I practice from past 5 years as a business analyst, I'll tell you the secret, guys. So whenever I've been deployed as a business analyst to take the requirement gathering, what I would be doing, I would take the requirements. For that day. So it is obvious that I need to send the MOM, right? Minutes of meeting. It being a corporate, it's a corporate culture that I need to send a MOM based on daily on my meetings after the meetings are finished. So what I used to do, as for example, today I've taken 10 requirements. Today, let's assume today I've taken 10 requirements from 10 o'clock to 1 o'clock, let's assume. Okay, so what I would do based upon my availability of time, that might be late night or today, I make sure to send by EOD itself. So what I would be doing, I would be writing all those 10 items, 10 requirements in an email format. While sending the MOM, I used to write those 10 requirements in the email format. Apart from that, with the 10 requirements I got, I used to create a mock-up, create diagrams. In other words, I used to create a diagrams based on those 10 requirements. Along with the requirements which I've written, I used to write those 10 requirements and also used to create the diagrams. Okay, I used to send in the form of a MOM to the client daily. I used to send the MOM to the client daily. So this would make sense, Ravi. Do you agree that you are bringing some change, right? Because client is also able to understand that these are the requirements. Okay, based upon our discussion till requirements till time, this mock-up, this screen would be like this. Does it have a clarity or not? Daily, if you were to send, can you create a difference or not?
So I want to know how to, I believe this will be taught later, but there are some techniques to draw the UI diagram, right? The mock
that would be there. There are activity diagrams, use case diagrams, but down the line, not now.
Okay.
And step by step we are going, right? But do you have a clarity like, what exactly to be done? Ravi, have you got my point?
Yes, yes, I have got your point, sir.
Sure.
Yes.
So the thing is, so I told you we are going to have document, we are going to document two things, right? BRD and FRD. So what do you mean by BRD? So in this, I've taken down the requirements. I've taken down the requirements. Okay. After let's assume the requirements are done. In other words, the as is process is done. As far as the as is process is done. As far as is process is done. Okay. So we are going to write it. We are going to the as is process is called as the business requirement document. We are going to document that in business requirement document. So what are the constituents of business requirements document? What constitutes of business requirement document? As we proceed further, we are going to discuss. Don't worry about that. But for the time being, you should have a clarity that what do you mean by business and business requirement document? It is nothing but what is the current process being followed by the client? What is the current process being followed by the client? That is called as the as is. The same as is we are going to document in business requirement document. We are going to document in business requirement document. So this is the stage involved in requirement gathering. This is a stage involved in requirement gathering. Any doubts? Feel free to ask 1,000 questions also, I don't mind. Ravi?
No, I'm clear, sir.
Sure?
Yeah.
Because I cannot move forward if you have any doubt also.
No, actually, most of things I'm using in day-to-day activity.
Okay.
So as this process is like, for example, there is a dashboard for customer where customer can see all the sales related information.
Okay.
But they expect that sales related information should also be having some extra features like which integrates with some APIs or something like that.
Okay.
So from as is to be, that is the gap analysis I have to perform, right?
Yes. Current
Like
stage to future state.
For example, they need a widget.
Okay.
So that widget can be treated as it is to be, and I have to do that. If I'm introducing a widget, will it have any impact on the as is functionality or not?
No, it doesn't.
So that kind of at least some impact analysis also need to perform, but that will be generally performed by dev team. That will it impact any as is functionality. Basically, as is functionality should not be disturbed if I'm introducing a to be functionality.
Yes.
Until unless there's a full change, like there's a drastic change, then only as is functionality can be I believe change. If there's entire version change itself, for example, users are used to have a particular UI. For example, this Paytm, but the core functionality remains the same. For example, the Paytm has changed its UI, okay, and they have added some new functionality whether I can book train tickets, whether I can do some toll fees, but the core functionality remains the same, where I have to scan the QR code and the amount has to be deducted from my wallet.
Yes.
Right. So that is my as is functionalities. From as is to be, when I'm going, I have to do this gap analysis that whether is there any change, like where am I and where I want to be. That is something, right?
Yes, exactly. So are we done with this slide? Are we done, Ravi? Can we move forward?
Yeah, we can do.
Fine.
So we have 10 minutes more, right? We will have a hard stop at 9:30 because I need to drop off. So yeah.
Okay, fine. We can complete, no problem. So we have taken down the requirements. We have taken down all the requirements. Fine. So now you're gonna get into your internal team, right? Or your project team, whatever. For the time being, consider it as the project team. Okay. For the time being, you please consider this as the project team. So you need to, at this point of time, I told you that of course, there would be n number of challenges. Of course, there would be n number of challenges. Likewise, I told you the example, like Ravi is very new. He carries only 2 years as a business analyst, wherein so many is of 10 years as a developer. Okay, so there might be attitude issues, ego clashes, that would be common. But end of the day, being the business analyst, you have to cope up. Being the business analyst, you have to cope up. You have to set that. Okay, you have to maintain a cordial relationship, in other words. So next, you need to explain to the development team and the testing team. You need to explain to the development team and the testing team. Of course, there would be n number of questions. There would be n number of questions would be coming. But if you are in a position to answer, you can answer. Or else, you can take down those questions and get in touch with the client and make sure you get in touch with the client and make sure you get the answers for that. Fine. So in this, development team would be developing. Okay. Then afterwards, parallelly that is going to test. Whatever the development team has developed, you're gonna test that. You're gonna test that parallelly. Then afterwards, after that, I told you UAT, user acceptance testing. User acceptance testing is nothing but, UAT is nothing but, I told you that would be doing at the higher end, whether that particular product is running or not. Whether that product is running or not, you are going to test. Being a business analyst, you are going to test. If it is running, either which way, if it is running, you are presenting it to the client. If it is running, you are presenting it to the client. Client would say, yeah, I'm fine. Client would be saying, yeah, I'm fine with the software which you have built. He would be giving you a sign off. He would be giving you a sign off. Okay. So this is the stage. After that, if you were to believe that, have you ever heard that, deployment or the live production? These are the common terms in software, right? So once the client gives sign off, nothing but what exactly he wants, he has got that. What exactly he wants, he got that. So after that, that would be gone into the live mode. That would be going into the live mode. This is nothing but these are nothing but the stages in software development life cycle. Right from the transformation of an idea. What is transformation of idea? Nothing but I, being a stakeholder, I need to have a software developer. Okay. So till the live mode, these are the stages. First of all, in initiation stage, the company people would be approaching me. Okay, they're gonna bid. They're gonna have a bid. Okay, so let's assume I got a contract with those people. So what after the next stage, planning stage? In the planning stage, the PMO, or the project management office, they would allocate one project manager. So project manager is the captain. He would take his players, vice captain, wicket keeper, whatever you take. He would be taking his cricket team. In other words, why he would be taking is the best of his team, nothing but in order to ensure the project success. Okay. After that, in that stage itself, the vice captain is business analyst. He gonna take his vice captain. Okay. So vice captain would be preparing. Vice captain would be taking the product training. Okay. And he would be knowing who are the main persons. He would be knowing who are the main persons involved. Okay. After that, business analyst would be deployed to take the requirements gathering. Okay. So he would be talking to the client. Okay. He would be understanding. Business analyst, first of all, should understand what exactly is the need of a client. Then afterwards, after taking down the requirements, he would communicate the same to. He would be communicating the same to his development team and testing team. So once the development is started, parallelly the testing also would be started. So let's assume we have come up to a fag end. Let's assume we have developed as per the requirement of the client. Okay. Then the testing would be done at the higher end, whether this is working or not. The product which we have built so far, whether that is working or not. If it is working, if the client gets satisfied, he gonna give a sign off. Client gonna give a sign off. If it is not working, again we'll be seeing where the defect is. Again, we need to work, and again we need to show to the client. So this is generally called as the software development life cycle. This is called as the software development life cycle. So today agenda, we have we have discussed on the definition of a business analyst, the roles and responsibilities of a business analyst, and what do you mean by software development lifecycle, SDLC. So today we have discussed. So team, as soon as we are done with the meeting, I'm gonna post it in our website, okay? And I'm gonna give you the link also. You please go through at least daily an hour, okay? And please make a note on your own, okay? Because let me be very clear. I'm reiterating once again. This agile curriculum has been prepared in view of a interview perspective itself. If you are thorough with these slides and if you are able to express, okay, I'm 2,000% I can assure you that you can get a job.